Oh hi. Varna, the seaport and the resort in Bulgaria. It is known from 6th century BB as the Greek colony of Odessos. In a source of the 12th century it is for the first time mentioned as Varna. The name on the river Varna. From several offered etymologies I am most convincing connecting the name with a mineral source. The city is the Bulgaria's third most populated, a large cultural and financial center and also the important transport hub of the country. Varna, the largest port of Bulgaria, there are ferry connections with Black Sea, Port Caucasus, Poti, Batumi and Istanbul. The population, according to official sources, totals 369,632 inhabitants, together with subordinate settlements minus 378,559 inhabitants. The current accounting of 2020. Varna is located in the northeast of the country near border with Romania on the Black Sea coast of Bulgaria. To the west from the city the long lake into which the river of Provodiysk flows stretches. This city is located about 43 degrees of northern latitude, that is approximately at the geographic latitude of Nice, Taranto, Almaty, Vladivostok and Sochi. In the neighborhood of the city the climate is suitable for cultivation of the Mediterranean plant species, such as pomegranate, kiwi, date, rice and bay leaf. During the summer period water temperature is about +20. +30 C. In hot days sand on beaches heats up to 65 C. Average wave height in the Gulf of Varna about 61 cs. To the north from Varna there are largest resorts. Saints Constantine and Elena. Who was friendship. Golden Sands and Albena. The climate is close to Mediterranean, on Köppen's classification, damp subtropical. Sieka. Average temperature of January is +2.6 C, July of +23.4 C, an absolute minimum of temperature 24.3 C were recorded on February 10, 1929, the absolute maximum of +41.4 C is registered on July 10, 1928. Varna is located on the northern outskirts of a zone of subtropics. The winter in the city rather soft, temperature fluctuates within 0 C. +10 of C in the winter. In the winter at night often there are frosts, at invasions of cold norths from the Arctic temperatures can sometimes fall to 10 C. And vice versa, throughout all winter, especially in December, quite often there are warm and sunny days when temperature rises up to +18 C. +20 of C. The absolute maximum of winter is noted in February, +23 C. Constant snow cover in Varna isn't established and the climatic winter in the city doesn't come. The coldest month, January, the norm of average daily temperature in January is +2.6 C. During this period a possibility of snowfall is the highest. The spring in the city comes in the second half of February, then the atmosphere is unstable and often there are sharp weather changing. The climatic summer begins at the end of April and lasts till the middle of October. Summer in Varna rather warm, with average temperatures of day of +28 C. +30 of C and night of +18 C. +20 of C. Full long and warm but sharp temperature differences are possible. Average temperature of year is plus 12.9 C, plus 13. Plus 15 C in recent years. Average water temperature in the Black Sea in January, plus 7 C, in July, plus 26 C. An average amount of precipitation of 471, with a maximum in June and November and a minimum in February. In the Stone and Copper Age in the territory of Varna there were several archaeological cultures, including culture which received the name of the same name Varna of era of the Copper Age. About 570 BB Greek settlers from Miletus on the bank of the Black Sea founded colony of Odessos. In the 4th century BB the city-state gains fame as the center of trade with Thracians, and in the 2 centuries BB minted own coin here. In the 3rd century BB the city became dependent on Macedonia and subsequently on the Roman Empire. It was known under the Roman name Dionysiopol. Nevertheless trade and crafts developed still favorably. The remains of the Roman baths of the 2nd century remained. The Christianity in Varna began to extend very much early. According to the legends stored by the Bulgarian Church, the episcopal department was available in Odessos where Ampliatus, the pupil of the street Apostle Pavel, was the bishop. In the 6th century the city becomes the center of an autocephalous episcopia, but at the end of 6th, the beginning of the 7th century was destroyed. In 681 years the city was revived by the Bulgarian Khan Asparuk and he was a part of the Bulgarian kingdom. From 972 to 1391 the city was in structure of the Byzantine Empire. Varna was the important center of Christianity and trade, had communications with Constantinople, Dubrovnik, Venice and Genoa. In 1391 Varna was conquered by army of the Ottoman Empire, turned the city because of his advantageous strategic position into coastal fortress. On November 10, 1444 the Hungarian and Polish troops which left in a crusade headed by the King Vladislav III with assistance of groups from Wallachia met army of the Sultan Murad II and were broken in fight at the city of Varna. The King Vladislav III died. In 1606 Varna, which was under the power of the Ottoman Empire, was taken by the Zaporizhia Cossacks under Sagidakni's leadership. They took away from Turks of production more than on 180,000 gold. In the 18th-19th centuries Varna becomes large shopping center. During the Russian-Turkish War of 1768-1774 in 1773 to Varna the group under command of the Baron and Jern Sternberg. 1730-1799. And the Colonel Angelprenbergsky was sent. 1744-1791. During storm on October 30, 1773 troops reached a counterscarp, but didn't manage to overcome a ditch and receded, having lost 6 easy artillery pieces of and about 700 people killed and wounded. The group receded to the village of Adzimler. During the Russian-Turkish War of 1806, 1812 and 1810 Varna within 3 weeks was besieged by a group of the General Tsarev who fired at the Turkish fortress from tools, but didn't manage to capture her and with approach of fall receded. During the Russian-Turkish War of 1828-1829 the Turkish fortress Varna was in addition strengthened. On July 1, 1828 the siege of Varna began. The Russian troops with assistance of forces of the fleet In the afternoon on July 22, 1828 of 8 Russians of the linear ships, 3 frigates, a brig, a lugger, the steamship and 3 bombardier vessels approached Varna. The squadron blocked Varna from the sea, supporting by fire the Russian troops which besieged fortress. On September 25 ground forces and a naval landing began storm of Varna. On September 29, 1828 Varna capitulated, 9,000 prisoners and 291 tools were taken. In honor of capture of Varna received names the military and sentry settlement of the Orenburg Cossack army. Nowadays, the village of Varna in Chelyabinsk region. And 2 ships of the Russian fleet. The 60-gun Varna frigate was a part of the Black Sea Fleet in August, 1830 and was lost during a storm in the mouth of the river of Sochi on May 31, 1838. The 84-gun linear Varna ship was a part of the Black Sea Fleet in July, 1842 and on September 11, 1854 was flooded on the Sevastopol raid. Under the terms of the Adrianople World Varna it was returned to Turkey, therefore her strengthenings were blown up before retreat of the Russian troops, but by 1853 fortress was restored. During the Crimean War the city became base of the Anglo-French troops acting against Sevastopol. After construction in 1866 of the railroad Varna, Rus development of the city became more active. Before the Russian-Turkish War of 1877-1878 Fortress Varna was in addition strengthened by 3 forts and armed with cut artillery. During War of Fortress Varna, Silistra, Rashchik and Vidin made the Turkish surf area. According to conditions of the San and Stefansky peace treaty the Turkish troops had to hand over fortress but didn't satisfy this condition till July 27, 1878 when Varna was finally freed by the Russian troops from centuries-old Turkish dominion and became a part of New Bulgaria. In 1892 there began work the first Hloka factory of Bulgaria here. After putting into operation in 1899 of the railroad which connected Varna to Sofia, value of Varna as shopping and transport center amplified. In 1906 the modern harbour was equipped, in 1907 shipbuilding shipyards were constructed. On October 15, 1915 Bulgaria entered World War I on side of the Central Powers. Further, the port was exposed to bombing by the Black Sea Fleet. From the Illustrated magazine of the Spark. Bombing of Varna. On October 14, our Black Sea Fleet bombarded the port of Varna, large artillery of the ships and bombs from hydroplanes. On observations from vessels and from hydroplanes, firing of our ships was extremely attack. During bombing the fleet underwent the attack of the German submarines. Successfully reflected by us, boats didn't make success. At the same time Varna was bombarded by an air squadron of the pilots throwing bombs. Rigid fire, artillery and gun, but unsuccessfully was opened at hydroplanes. For all the time of bombing Bulgarians didn't shoot back vessels. According to pilots, firing was extremely successful. The port is absolutely destroyed. After the end of war Varna remained the main trade port for northern Bulgaria, but in connection with loss of Dobruja its value decreased in comparison with Burgas. In 1921 Varna received the official status of the sea resort. After consequences of war and an economic crisis of the beginning of the 1920th years were overcome, To the middle of the 1920th years, Varna restored the status of the important industrial center. Textile, tanning and ironworks productions and several steam mills worked here. In the middle of May 1940, in the territory of Bulgaria, under the guise of meteorological stations, 3 centers of radio intercept of Anabra, which were under expeditious supervision of Dalisa Bureau, were open. One of the centers of radio intercept was open in Varna. Also, in 1940, Germans began re-equipment of the port of Varna for placement of the fighting ships to the Kriegsmarine. March 1, 1941, in Vienna, documents on accession of Bulgaria to the Pact of Rome-Berlin-Tokyo, according to which Bulgaria allowed placement of the German military units in the territory of Bulgaria, were signed. On March 2, 1941, the German troops were sent on the territory of Bulgaria. Further, till September 1944, in Burgas the ships of the German Navy were based. At the same time, the resistance movement. In July 1943, Varna became the center of the 10th Operational Insurgent Zone NOPA. Worked in the city and vicinities. On August 26, 1944, command of the German troops in Bulgaria gave the order on creation from the German military units in Varna and Rus of 2 fighting groups and their reduction to combat readiness, on a case of the anti-German performances in Bulgaria. On September 8, 1944, for hijacking of the German ships which were in port, the landing of the Black Sea Fleet of the Hussar, which didn't encounter resistance from the Bulgarian armed forces in connection with transition of Bulgaria to the side of the anti-Hitlerite coalition, was landed. After war, the ship repair and shipbuilding plants were reconstructed. The plant of internal combustion engines was constructed. In 1949, Varna, to Joseph Stalin's 70th anniversary, was renamed into his honor, but after the 20th Congress of the CSU and exposure of cult of personality in 1956, the historical name was immediately returned to her. Since 1964, Varna is the venue of the International Ballet Festival. In 1973-1976, the bridge viaduct, the channel connecting the Varna Lake to the Varna Gulf, was built. In 1980, the Varna house building plant was put into operation here. In August 1984, the Varna Dolphinarium BB was open. In 1985, the Children's Center, Banner of Peace, in which the Puppet Theatre, the Museum of Dolls, the Center of Technical and Scientific Creativity of Youth and its several organizations for children and young people were placed, was constructed and opened here. In 1656, in Varna, about 4,000 people lived. In the 1880th-24555 people, in the 1934th-70,000. After World War II, the city began to grow promptly. The number of residents of Varna, according to the current accounting of the population of Bulgaria minus people. The city, along with the capital of Sofia and Burgas, one of the few in the country which increased the population for the period between 2 censuses of 2001 and 2011. According to GRA, the Bulgarian Public Service of Records of Civil Status, as of September 15, 2018, in Community Varna, the city of Varna and 5 adjacent villages, there were inhabitants. However, the actual population of Varna exceeds 400,000 inhabitants in the working days in 2 next communities, Aksagovo and Beleslav. The general population makes 32,000 and nearly 90% of their inhabitants work and study in Varna, which is in close proximity. Besides, the considerable number of the unregistered inhabitants lives in the city.
Varna, presumably, the city with the most numerous Russian and Russian-speaking diaspora in Bulgaria.
On different sources, the number Russian and Russian-speaking, living in the city makes from 2 people.
Its number increases several times in summer months. That means that the Russian-speaking population of the city can reach up to 10% of the population.
During the period from June to September, the actual population of Varna, according to the experts and according to the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Bulgaria, increases by 200,000 inhabitants at the expense of the tourists and people coming on earnings, and thus reaches about 600,000 people. On this indicator, the city advances a number of the European capitals as Tallinn, Ljubljana, Brno, Sarajevo. According to the law on territorial division of capital municipality and big cities, the territory of Varna is divided into 5 areas. The population as of February 2011, the National Population Census of Bulgaria. Coastal District, 105,340 inhabitants. Area Malay Dost, 81813 inhabitants. Area Odessus, 78794 inhabitants. Area Vladislav Varnanchik, 43077 inhabitants. Region of Asparakovo, 25846 inhabitants. In 7. 5 came from the downtown. The Varna airport is located. Also railway station accepting trains of the internal and international message. Earlier during a summer season, regular lines to Moscow, Saratov, Kiev and Minsk worked. Bus station and marina work in the city. Lost the passenger value in recent years. City transport of Varna is presented by buses. Over 40 lines. By trolleybuses, share taxis, the taxi. The master plan of the city provided construction of the line of the high-speed tram in the future. Sport. Football club Spartak. Football club, the sea is black. Sites. The Imperial Evksnograd Palace near Varna. Central entrance to the park Morsk Hailstone. Assumption Cathedral. Cathedral and Temple, Presvyatia Bogorodice's Assumption. The Varna Archaeological Museum, the Varna necropolis of an era of the Halkidiki, has a quite good collection of ancient Thracian gold, including oldest gold in the world. Varna necropolis of an era of the Halkidiki, and also other materials on the history of the Balkans. Naval Museum, Varna. Varna Dolphinarium. The Seaside Park Morske Hailstone. A sea garden. The park stretched on several kilometers along the coast of the Black Sea, founded more than 100 years ago. Roman terms. Roman Athermi. Not too well remained ruins of the Roman baths of the period of domination of Rome in the Balkans. The Monastery Alata, ruins of the Orthodox Ruki Monastery. 14 came from Varna. Natural monument the Hammered Stones. 18 came from Varna. Varna City Art Gallery of Boris Georgiev. In the city there are monuments to the Russian dead in liberating war to N.P. Ignatiev and the Soviet Army, and also Boulevard Osvoboditelь A.S. Pushkin Street A.M. Dundakov Korsakov 5. A. Tchaikovsky, the Academician N.S. Verzovin Bayou.
1. Venelin 5. S. Vysotsky and others.
Descendants of Cossacks Nekrasovtsev live in the fishing village of Kozoshka on the bank of the Varna lake. On the western outskirts of the city, there is an old belief temple of the Russian Dreva Pravoslavny Church consecrated in honor of the cover of the Mother of God. Near Varna, the Bulgarian towns of Aksakovo. It is called in honor of I.S. Aksakov and Suvarovo. A5. Suvarova. 30 came. Is a place of fight at Kozluchi 1774. And the town of Ignatievo. N.P. Ignatieva. Are located. Monuments. Monument to liberators of the Russian-Turkish War in Varna. Monument of the Bulgaro-Soviet friendship in Varna.
Monument to 54 soldiers of the 14th Army case and 2 officers who died in the Russian-Turkish War of 1877-1878.
Massachusetts grave of 54 soldiers of the 14th Army case and 2 officers. Massachusetts grave of 44 soldiers of the 14th Army case. To the Ukrainian soldiers who died for freedom of Bulgaria. Monument to liberators of the Russian-Turkish War. Memorial bust of the Count N.P. Ignatiev. Monument of the Bulgaro-Soviet friendship. Monument to the Tsar Kaloyin. Education. Varna is one of the most important university centers in the city. More than 370,000 students study. Varna Free University, Chernorizets Rabri. The highest naval school of Nikola Vaptsarov. Economic University Varna. Varna Medical University. Varna Technical University. College of Tourism. Medical College. Technical College. Secondary education is provided by several language schools, schools of the humanities, mathematics and natural sciences, art schools. Average School of Arts of Dobry Christoph. The former Average Musical School. Several vocational, sports and comprehensive schools. Personnel. Vazadar Bazilev. 1923-2006. Is the Bulgarian poet, the prose writer, the publicist, the translator, the literary critic and the playwright. Winner of the Dmitrovsky Award. Nikola Paraskevas. 1798. The Odessa businessman and the patron, the Greek by origin, was born, I constructed and presented to the city where he was born, St. Nicholas's Temple, died in Odessa in 1862. Aspriotti, Kleoniki. 1870-1938. The famous Greek artist of the end of the beginning of the 20th century. I was born in Varna. Bedros. 1932. And Philip Kirkorov. 1967. The father and the son, the Bulgarian, Soviet and Russian crooners were born. Mikhail Stepanovich Petakok. 1954. The Soviet and Russian pianist, professor of the Moscow Conservatory, was born. Ivan Kashelsky. 1826-1880. The Major General of the Russian Army, Bulgarian political and the statesman, the governor of Varna and Vidin-Tide. 1894-1905. Zhunas Basanovich Hughes. 1851-1927. The Lithuanian historian, the specialist in folklore, the publicist, the doctor, the public figure lived and worked. Patriarch of the Lithuanian national revival. Anton Strašimirav, 1872-1937. The Bulgarian Democrat writer was born. Todor Kostav, 1928-2009. The Bulgarian opera singer was born. Honorable Citizen Varna. Political situation. Commit. Mayor of Community Varna, Ivan Portnik. Independent. By results of elections. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.